So I'm going to hand over to Jo for our event today, the second event of the week on International Women's Week, where we're choosing to challenge housing as a topic, which is a hot topic in our network, and we're really looking forward to sharing experiences, coming up with options and ideas for better ways of tackling some of the issues we're going to hear about now. So thanks, Jo.
Yeah, thanks, Nicola. Yeah, welcome everybody. I hope you've had a good International Women's Week. And like Nicola said, this is a series of events that we've been running, and this is something that's quite a topic that something we're very much interested in, but have not really explored with our network. But through listening to our network, as Nicola said, we support women to be the change that they see in communities. We help with business startup, we help with mentoring and peer learning. And over the conversations that we've had, we've noticed that there's quite a lot of women that have been really affected by insecure housing situations. And we want to kind of dig a bit deeper as to why. And we really want to know how we can be part of that solution, really. You know, what is it we can do what's within our gift, what's within our network that we can do to support women find, you know, safer, securer and affordable homes. So yeah, that's really essentially what it is today. It's just an opportunity to kind of explore that a little bit further. I think there's probably people in this group that have been affected by this issue. There's probably people in the group that are working within the system, as it were, that can really benefit from understanding a bit more about people's lived experience around how housing and living situations can impact on people's ability to flourish. So what we have done is Jennifer, who's joining us from the Flourish team, she's been doing a bit of kind of desk research, I suppose, and looking at some of the things that are happening in terms of the economic impacts of poor housing or inability to find secure housing, some of the political kind of stuff that's getting in the way, that's not helping, and also some of the kind of social aspects of women being kept in housing that isn't suitable, and what that impact that has in terms of their ability to move on and be successful, I suppose, and have an independent and happy life. So Jennifer's going to take us through that for about 5-10 minutes, some of the sort of key stats around it. But I think the most important bit of today really is to hear from you, and we're going to go into some breakout sessions. And it'd be really great if you could reflect on some of the stats that Jennifer's unearthed and just kind of let us know whether that's the kind of experience that you've had, and does any of it surprise you? Are there any barriers and other barriers and challenges to accessing suitable housing and secure housing? And then from that, we're quite a solutions-led organisation, so we really want to sort of talk through some of the things that we could do together, or some things that Flourish could perhaps support on about supporting women in that situation. And that's essentially it, really. Like Nicola said, it's really a bit more of a focus group and something that we're really interested in getting under the skin of. So I hope that's okay. If anyone has any questions, and just feel free, it's very informal, small group, just take yourself off chat and just speak, or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then just stick something in the chat and we'll try and address it. But I'm going to hand over to Jennifer from our team from Flourish, and she's going to take us through a few slides. So it's a bit of a talk at you for a bit, but hopefully it just sets a context of the discussion for later on in the session.
Hi everybody. Yeah, like Jo said, I'm just going to be going over some of the context in regards to kind of the barriers that women face, which there are a lot of barriers, unfortunately. So I've kind of laid them out in terms of kind of the political, and then the economic, and then the social. So just as an overview, I don't know if you can get the first slide up.
Yes.
On that one. So for the context, yeah, housing is a very important part of people's daily lives, their budgets and their savings. Housing can contribute to living standards, opportunities and well-being. And unfortunately, women's housing situation differs from that of men. And nearly 63% of adults in households claiming housing benefit are women, reflecting women's lower incomes. And women's lower incomes relative to men's means that they are less able to afford housing, and their caring responsibilities as well means that they have specific needs when securing a suitable home for themselves and their children. So we've got, I kind of started off with the political, and just kind of some context. Since 2010, there's been a sharp reduction in overall government spending, and also reductions in housing benefit rates and eligibility, and also changes to the size and status of the social housing sector. All of these have reduced the housing welfare safety net and will mostly affect disadvantaged women. Within its reduced housing budget, government has shifted support from social housing to encouraging additional home building and access to home ownership for people on middle incomes. And obviously, this is unlikely to compensate poorer women for the changes to the safety net. And the current housing crisis is one of the most pressing, greatest public policy issues in the UK at the moment. It is a crisis of affordability and of availability, and women are deeply impacted by the housing crisis as a result of their disadvantaged economic position and their disproportionate responsibility for care work. Now getting onto kind of the economic, women need over 12 times their annual salary to be able to buy a house in England, and compared to men, which who only need over 8 times. When it comes to buying a house with a typical mortgage, women's income falls over 50% short in most regions. And there's no region in England where private rented housing is affordable on women's median earnings, and women and men tend to buy or rent their homes as a couple. Rising housing costs compared to wages have caused a crisis of affordability for two-earner couples. This crisis is particularly serious for single women who face a larger ratio of earnings to housing costs. As well as this, lone mothers head 2/3 of all homeless households with children. They are more likely than couples with children to be renting in the private sector. And especially for young women, housing is less affordable because they earn less than older age groups. Housing benefit entitlements for single under 35-year-olds without children are limited to the cost of a room in a shared accommodation. And this is particularly problematic to mothers with non-resident children and victims of male perpetrated abuse. And finally, the social aspects of kind of the barriers to housing is kind of the interplay between domestic abuse and financial dependence, which also has an impact on women in relationships and on their housing situations. A woman's ability to live her life free of violence and abuse is greatly dependent on her capacity to afford a home of her own. There's also gendered expectations around caring responsibilities, with women usually the main and often sole carer of children. This means that women face specific challenges in trying to secure accommodation suitable for them and their families. Surrounding infrastructure, such as good local transport links, proximity to schools, health centres and supermarkets or grocery shops, are all key for women to be able to combine unpaid work with paid employment. Single mothers are a group that faces particular challenges when it comes to housing. They tend to have lower incomes, to rely more on an extended local social network for help with childcare and other care responsibilities. Single mothers form the bulk of families in statutory homelessness. 66% of homeless households with children are lone parent headed, and they are also more likely than couples with children to be renting in the private sector. Safety is another key issue for women when it comes to housing. Domestic abuse and other forms of violence against women are a key cause of homelessness for women and children, and the lack of affordable and adequate homes is forcing many women into the impossible choice of putting up with abuse or not having a roof over their heads. And the ability of survivors of domestic abuse to rebuild their lives is severely hindered by the fact that there's no sustainable housing available for them, and whilst shelter services have been cut as well. Thank you. And I think we have the breakout sessions after this.
Yeah, so it's pretty stark, isn't it? And I think these are all, this is all information that was probably pulled together before the pandemic as well. So we know that the pandemic has had a disproportionate effect on women. because of a number of reasons, and so it's likely to get worse. So yeah, we're not here to depress you, but we're here to just really highlight it as a real serious issue, and we just want to sort of work through that this afternoon around, you know, what can we do, what is the solution to this? It's not going to be a quick fix overnight, but is there something we can do to address some of this? And I'm sure there's agencies out there that are doing great work in this space. So again, it's understanding who they are and how we can signpost some of the women in our network to that. So yeah, really, it's just a discovery session, I suppose, today, just to unpick some of this stuff and get the benefit of your experiences, skills, knowledge, insights. So I hope that's okay. Has anyone got any questions so far? I'm going to just stop sharing that so I can see everyone, because it's really weird not seeing everyone.
I have set up breakouts there, and I think I was going to say, you know, it feels quite heavy, doesn't it? For the middle of the week, is it Wednesday? I don't even know. Yeah, Wellbeing Wednesday. But you know, we're certainly hoping to come out the other side of this, you know, feeling more positive. But you know, in order to get through some of this stuff, we've got to really unpack it and think about it. And I was just going to highlight that. Yes, Joe's absolutely right. This has been on our radar for some years now, and we've been thinking, what could we do? What ideas have we got? And we'll share a little bit about that with you later after our first breakout. But this really, we knew that we had to crack on with this and not just pop it on a back burner, because when we did the recent Greater Manchester Combined Authority research, we were asked to do looking at the needs of women, and particularly around relating to women that have been affected or come into contact with the criminal justice system in some way as victims or perpetrators. Housing was by and away one of the biggest factors in all of the feedback. And you know, we spoke to over 200 women and 80 agencies, so we've got some sense of good practice and some sense of agencies out there, but we really want to map that further, understand it better, but also come up with other innovations, simple things, complex things, you know, things we can do now, things that we're going to have to take time on. So we're really, you know, quite excited to think about this together. And I've set up these breakouts now, Joe. So shall I open those up for us and we'll disappear?
Each breakout room will have somebody from the Flourish team in there to help facilitate the conversation. But we're going to just explore some of the stuff that Jennifer's articulated